You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tusaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Benazzi from OptionPit.com, and Henry the Flowmaster Schwartz from SIBO. The Option Block is brought to you by SIBO. SIBO's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.sibo.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of CBOE Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively CBOE. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the CBOE products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is time to rock out once again with a little bit of everyone's favorite. I know it's my favorite. Hopefully, it's your favorite as well. Options Podcast. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network. Your home now for 19 plus years of Options Podcast goodness. If you want even more goodness, man, the Pro has been wild of late. An embarrassment of riches. Multiple Pro Q&As hitting you over the last few weeks. All the OIC stuff coming up, including a little dalliance with some guy called the Flowmaster and his state of the industry. Our Pro members got that early. It's starting to hit the rest of the network, I think, later this week. So all sorts of fun if you want to check out all that fun. Options Oddities, man, a wild banger on Options Oddities last week. 5X crazy call banger. You got to check that one out. The optionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. As we learn who's joining us on this fine Thursday edition of the old program. First out to the hallowed halls of SIBO East we go, where we are joined once again by the Flowmaster himself, Mr. Henry Schwartz from SIBO. Mr. Flowmaster, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hi, Mark. It's great to be here. We're heading into a 3-day weekend, so it feels a little bit like things are calming down. But things are good in New York. It was 93 degrees yesterday, and it was 60 when I woke up. So a lot of volatility in the temperature market here.
That time of year, yeah, it was 80 something the other day, and now I think it's like 51 here or something. So yeah, we've had similar swings. What's a 30-plus point swing intraday? That just keeps you on your toes. You bring all the clothes to work and back home again. There we go. But a place where they don't know anything about temperature fluctuations because he lives under a weather shield, none other than Uncle Mike Tusaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, how go things under the weather shield, sir?
Oh, always a pleasure to be here. The whole town is gathered, all 33,000 of us, to listen to the Option Block. They closed the town down because it's the Option Block hour. So we're here.
I would expect nothing else as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down, what the heck is trading out there? What is lighting up the tape out there today, listeners? And if you needed a little bit of red in your life, then you're getting exactly that, a little bit of red on the tape. Nothing wild, nothing crazy, nothing set your hair on fire. Oh my goodness, the sky is falling. But we are getting a little bit of red on the screen. This comes on the heels yesterday of kind of mixed messages. The Fed coming out and saying, hey, probably are going to have to hike rates down the road, which again kind of sticks a little bit of a dagger in the argument that we've had post-pandemic, that we've been rallying on the back of two things, AI and of course rate cuts. The rate cuts haven't really materialized. Now we're going to hike, but the market still rallied yesterday off the hopes, I guess, of what's going on in Iran, even though that's kind of shaken up a little bit there as well. Last night, if you want to sink your teeth into real numbers, of course, we had NVIDIA. They came out good, and they were, of course, talking about buying back stock, because what else are you going to do with all the money they're making? And then, of course, the market still takes it to their stock, usually in the after hours. I do believe they are rallying now on the open. We'll see later today after the closing bell on the hot options report if they rally enough. I believe it was the 235s that were lighting it up last night. We could see if the 235s are going to pay off or not. And then, of course, Walmart coming out and spooking everybody. They had good numbers as well, but their guidance going forward, even they admitted their customers are getting a little bit pinched by these gas prices, which how can they not be? They live in the real world after all. And so all that kind of combining into a little bit of red on the screen out there today. S&P off about 1/3%. Dow off about 0.2%. NASDAQ off almost 0.5%, about 0.4%. And VIX cash once again saying, I don't care about anything, 17.25 when we kicked off the show. That puts it down a little over one, about 1.1 points. But our old pal VVIX, the vol of vol itself, actually ticking up a little bit, gaining back about 2 points up to a 94 as we kicked off the show. All right, around the horn we go. Mr. Flowmaster, we shall start with you, sir. What is catching your eye out there in the markets today?
Well, I said it's a little bit sleepy out there, honestly. Like we basically are looking at a VIX that's little changed. It's down a notch at 1706 right now, but it's been kind of wavering around 17 to 17 and a half. We've had a couple of little runs on some headlines out of Iran, but we see oil higher, gold lower. After this, another really strong 4 days or so in the market, we have a little bit of a pullback. But basically, today's kind of status quo. We're post NVIDIA earnings, which is really pretty interesting because it's, there's a lot of anticipation there. And then big surprise, it's kind of a big nothing burger in terms of the stock moving. But I just kind of watching what's in the world go by here. It's a little choppy. I would say kind of similar to what we talked about last week. Oil is kind of driving the ship right now. So that's what we're looking at.
That is what we are looking at, indeed. Any thoughts on what we saw yesterday coming out of the Fed, their guidance for the future and the market's reaction, sir? Or did you kind of just take that all in stride like the market did as well, sir?
Well, I guess I kind of wasn't surprised. I mean, I don't try to predict too much, but it does seem kind of right now. Everybody knows there's inflation. Everybody knows that Trump wants rates to be lowered, and so you just kind of have this a little bit of a static situation where we kind of end up sitting where we are. Looks like we're getting a pretty decent jump right now, though, which I'm guessing is probably on more headlines out of the Middle East.
Uncle Mike, have you started buying with your cabal again? Is it you wait for showtime, I know, and then the signal goes out, buy, just so you could look good on the show. So if you want to fess up to that, have at it. And then what else is catching your eye out there in at least for now, mostly red day, sir?
Never before. Oh, wait. Sorry, just force a habit.
I was going to say, I don't think you can say that today.
It's just a habit, I guess. It seems like we just hit all-time highs so much that it just kind of happened, I guess. So
I will admit, for half a second, you had me worried. Like, did I miss something? Did we shoot up that much while we were talking?
And we did shoot up 25 handle.
Yeah, so maybe I'll say it by the end of the show. We'll see. Who knows? But yeah, I think with rates right now, just looking at it, on the week, just looking at TLT. So TLT is the ETF that tracks 20-plus year government treasuries. So we closed at the end of last week at 83.66. we're at 83.86 right now. But if you just look at the movement of TLT throughout the week this past week, it has been kind of all over the map, if you will. Or it's had a lot of movement, to say the least. And the same holds true with IEF, which tracks the 7 to 10 year treasuries. So it's down on the day to day, but it's after a lot of upside movement yesterday. And so, but that's after a giant gap down on Monday going into Tuesday. So for bonds, that's pretty exciting stuff, if you will. It has been a pretty exciting week just watching the movement in the bond world. But where we're at right now, it's that when are we going to get some type of a pullback is the big question that we're having in the market. We had all-time highs a week ago, actually, and we have not had them since. So on there, we're about 100 points off the all-time highs. And so if we do make get a 100-point gain here during the show, maybe I can chime in and do my thing, but I don't think I'll be able to. I don't know if my buyers will quite do that much buying today. But we're still very high right now, and we've had such a huge move over the course of the last almost 2 months now since we hit the lows on March 30th that you got to wonder what's going to happen. Now, ideally, the bull in me, of course, I want us to go up another 6,000 points in the S&P in the next 5 minutes. But the realist in me, the thing that I am hoping for is that we don't get choppy. If we can stay sideways for a while, we'll have a little bit of a base built, if you will. And then I think the market can digest being at the levels with which it's at right now, and then can hopefully move higher. Now, what could be happening right now from a technical standpoint, we could be roughly 2 weeks into what I like to call a magnet market, meaning 7,400 would be a magnet number to where we get a little bit above it, we get a little bit below it, and we seem to stay at around the 7,400 level. So it's starting. Who knows if it will continue or not, but it is definitely starting. That is for sure. In terms of some individual names that I'm following, there's nothing out there that is really of anything major, of any Bloom Energy. I shouldn't say nothing, never say nothing. Bloom Energy up 11% on the day. But that's, I think, going along with the Middle East news. But we do have that. And it seems like, as Henry said, with NVIDIA, it's down a little over 1% on the day. So those that were thinking it was going to be a major move were definitely incorrect. The straddle buyers apparently are not very happy right now at this stage. But maybe they did some after-hours stuff with their stock or something along those lines. Who knows? So that is what I am seeing right now. Back to you, Mark.
All right, you guys are both leaving me a lot of time to fill here, so I'll see what I can do to fill some time. I care about the listeners. I want to make sure they get a full show out here, so let's see what we can do for you, listeners. Again, it takes heavy lifting sometimes behind the scenes on days like today to bring you the full show. But we endeavor on your behalf. Is VIX trying hard today? The answer is a resounding no. The VIX threw up his hands and said, we are starting summer. Let's just give up the ghost right now and come back in September. 242,000 contracts on the tape right now, listeners. That ADV, though, starting to trend a little bit in the right direction, I should say. It got down to around 660, which is kind of in a normal year what you would expect heading into the start of summer. You don't usually expect these 1 million contract a day markets and VIX heading into May and June. And getting a little bit back now, 717,000. So that ADV is starting to border on respectability. You get it right around 750,000. I would argue that is respectable out there. Today's volume, not that respectable, though. The hot options, such as they are. Let's just do a quick top five, because why not? What else are we going to talk about here? Number one, 24,000 of the June 17 puts, listeners. If you were wondering about some downside, how about June 17 puts? Getting some duration. May, obviously, going the way of the dodo now, so June slotting into that pole position. 29 cents for those bad boys. I'll leave it up to you whether you think that's too rich or not. Number two, 20,000 of the June 31s. Those are 56 cents. So if you were wondering, if you were trying to do that risk reversal, you still have to pay about 26 cents for that bad boy. So there's still some juice to the upside, even if we haven't really seen it materialize at all over the better part of this year. If you want to go back and listen to Vol Views, I think it was last week where Dr. VIX was breaking down the number of times we've even kissed 20 in VIX land so far this year. And the number will probably surprise you. And anyone who's buying the 31s should probably at least pay attention to that. Number 3, 18,000 of the June 17 half puts. So maybe you think 17 is a bridge too far. 17 half puts for 50 cents. Maybe you like those better. Number 4, 17,000 of the 18 puts. Now we're getting a little bit meatier. Those 68 cents, if you are wondering. And the big dog, or I should say the big dog, the bottom of our top 5 out there today, 16,000 of the June 25. So we're kind of all over the place today. If you're wondering, those going up for about $1. And again, 25, anything north of 20, you've had a real hard time monetizing this year. So 25s for $1, more power to you if you can make it work. A SPY, 6.35 million contracts. So SPY looking, I would argue, respectable. Not quite as bored as VIX is today. The ADV, 10.7 million contracts, so retreating off that 11 million contract level. The S, same deal, 2.75 million. I would also argue that's respectable. That's over halfway to its ADV, which is right around 5 million contracts right now. What is looking far more than respectable right now are the small caps. The small caps are hot out of the gate. Someone forgot to tell small caps that today is a nothing burger day. They're up 0.2% right now. So IWM, small caps, feeling the heat. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of small caps later on TWIFO today. We'll see. But almost 1.5 million contracts already out there in small caps. So that is definitely a spicy day. The ADV is only 1.7, so we could easily be there by the end of the show. You know what? Now I am intrigued. I must see what is going on out here in all things small caps. Let's see if we can find out together. Let's go out to see what's lighting it up out here in good old small caps. And it's the 270 puts, listeners. IWM at right around 281.5 as we kicked off the show. And the big dog out there, 115,000 of the 270 puts. These are not expiring today, though. You know, small caps, they kind of come in fits and starts. Sometimes it's all 0 day all the time. Other times it's a little bit longer term. And it seems like today is definitely in the latter bucket. In fact, all of the top 5 are all expiring except for number 5. That's it. The only one that's expiring today. Well, number 1, we got 115,000 of the 270 puts. These are expiring next week on the 27th. Below that, number 2, we got 110,000 of the 272 puts going away on June 5th. So we got some action, followed by 110,000 of the June 5th 262 puts. Looks like a 10-point put spread going up again for size. Number 3, 110,000 of the May 260 puts. So maybe we've got some rolling action there. Those are expiring next week. So it is possible someone's rolling the 270, 260 put spread expiring next week to the week after that. And then number 5, we got our only 0 day contract, 108,000 of the 281s. These are expiring today. Average price of about 64 cents for these. And right now they're over $0.50 in the money. So seems like they're trending in the right direction. Can they stay there by the end of the day? I guess we will find out. We will also find out what's going on in the queues. And the answer today is a whole heck of a lot of nothing. Only 3.5 million contracts. That's fairly light. We've seen the queues sometimes north of 5 million this portion of the show. So kind of a light day in the queues. So small caps kind of looking like the aberration on that list today. Really, really spicy day out there in small caps. All that a long way around to saying, is it a spicy day in single name equity options? The answer is no. If you were hoping for a lot of heat out there, again, the answer no. 350 is our threshold we use for respectability out there, listeners. And you know what? We're not even there. We're at 301,000 contracts. That's all it cost you to break into the top 10 today. I get you to the artist formerly known as Facebook. Yeah, it's Meta. Meta, what are they up to today? Selling, they were, I take it back. They just ticked. They were selling off. Now it looks like, as the Flowmaster's saying, we're getting a little bit of a pop out there. And now Meta following suit, 607.5, up about $2.50 right now. So maybe the worm turning a little bit for Mr. Meta. I haven't had a chance to go see what is turning it. Is the war over? Who knows? But either way, number 10, Meta 301. Number 9 is the Amazonians, 320,000 contracts on the tape. They were green. They are even more green now. They were up about $1.60 right before we compiled this list. Now they're up about 2.25, trading 267.25. So it does seem like a little bit more green kicking in out there right now. Number 8, Walmart. I've said it many times on this show. Walmart, very much a bellwether for the economy and the outlook for the economy. If you needed more data points, not great coming out of Walmart. Go figure. Higher prices, people can't afford to buy as much. That's just pretty much common sense. Walmart today, 329,000 contracts on the tape. They were getting shellacked off about 9.25. Right now are about 7%, trading close to 121.5. It's like they sold off as low as 120.39. So they really came for them. That puts them, though, even with this big sell-off, they are still up about 8% or about 9 handles year to date. So it still is a good year. You go all the way back a full calendar year, and they're up quite a bit, about 26%. They were trading $96 a year ago. So they've had a pretty good year. They did top out, though, at 135. That was actually back in February before all this madness kicked off. And even going into their earnings, they were back up north of one. Actually, they were close to 135 again, right, heading into their earnings. So interesting times out there. But the market, not liking what they're hearing out of Walmart. They're coming in today at number 8. Number 7, the Monster, a.k.a. Strategy, Uncle Mike's favorite name, 167.5, up about $1.70 today, or about 1%. Good for number 7, 337 on the tape. Number 6, it's Intel. They got to be rallying, right? Because the rest of the market is green. And the answer is no. They're actually giving back $1 and change. Off $1.30 or about 1%, trading 117 2/3. So this name, absolutely wild. I've said many times, I used to trade out here, and I don't really recognize this new incarnation at all. That's a good thing. That's a bad thing. That's up to you. But it is certainly a wild name, certainly maybe a little bit more conducive for some options trading. There were many days, even in the GoGo.com days, listeners, when Intel would be like kind of watching paint dry. So you definitely can't say that now. So at least that's one arrow in the quiver of the options traders out there. Number 6, Intel, 427 on the tape. Another name that is anything but sleepy out there these days. I mean, any given day, it seems like it's moving 30 handles at a clip. This is good old Micron, listeners. Today, number 5, 432 on the tape. And today they're only, I put only in air quotes, only moving $22 or about 3%, trading 754.16 right now. So a comparatively quiet day for the untamed beast that is Micron right now. Number 5, 432. Keeping it in M Tech names, it's number 4, Microsoft. Number 5 was Micron. Number 4 is Microsoft. 435 on the tape.
Hey, man, I gotta call you back.
It's Microsoft, 435 on the tape. I'm happy to talk less if you guys want to talk more. You guys handed me like 20 minutes. Somebody's got to fill it. 417.30, off about 3 points today, or about 0.7%. Good for number 4. Microsoft, number 3, it's the fruit company. Uncle Mike's other big favorite holding, at least back in the day it was. The fruit company hitting new all-time highs today of 304.59, and still up 2.25 or 304.5 right now. For the fruit company. Good for number 3, 546. Number 2, number 1, you know what they are. It's Tesla, number 2. Tesla gaining back a whole $1.75, trading 419 pretty much exactly. Good for number 2, 1.64. And the big dog today, you know it, you'd expect it. Of course, maybe you expect a little bit more flow the day after their earnings. What are we talking about? We're talking about NVIDIA. 3.39 million. We've seen NVIDIA on earnings days, other days. 3.4 is kind of a rounding error for them. Also, they are coming for the stock. This has kind of been the MO for a while now. Buy the rumor, sell the fact. And even though the fact was pretty decent in NVIDIA, they're still coming for the stock a little bit. 221 3/4, off $1.75. That said, they are still, what is that, 8, almost 9 points above what was their previous all-time high, right around 212 and change. So they are still looking pretty good so far. A year to date, but again, an open question about, they're buying back stock. They reached their apex. We shall see. Either way, the market not exactly loving what's going on in Intel, or NVIDIA, I should say, or at the very least, more sellers than buyers. But if you like that, if you like sinking your teeth into some very specific earnings related flow, this was a good week for you. Obviously, you had the big dog earnings, or NVIDIA last night. I'm having a hard time today. All this talk, NVIDIA after the bell last night. They're the big one. But of course, we had Home Depot before that on Tuesday. I did just mention Walmart before the bell today. Target and Lowe's yesterday. Target, an interesting story, kind of a bit of the opposite of Walmart. Of course, they've been having more problems in Walmart as well, but they actually reported some decent numbers. So they're kind of in the midst of a turnaround, and apparently it seems to be working a little bit out there. Lowe's, I didn't see their numbers, so I have no idea what they're up to out there. But Walmart, an interesting one. John Deere today before the bell. And everyone's beloved NIO. And you know what? Because we like you folks, we commissioned some hot off the presses earnings move results and earnings season reports out here for you. And I think as I say that, am I lying? No, I'm not lying. Okay, here we go. We got it. Hot off the presses. All right. Let's go look at, why don't we have NEO on this? That's the one I was looking for. Oh, well, no NEO. So I guess I lied about NEO on the earnings move results. But we do have Walmart and we do have NVIDIA. Really quickly, Walmart was pricing in 4.5%. They delivered 7%. So maybe not surprising that they were outperforming to the downside. And then NVIDIA, Uncle Mike alluded to this. Premium buyers, shall we say, maybe a little bit disappointed. And this number really bears that out. They were pricing in nearly 6%. They delivered, as of this report, which was probably about an hour ago, 0.2%. Wow. That is the least net movement we've seen in NVIDIA post earnings in quite some time. My goodness, man. Sometimes it takes some cojones to sell some juice in some of these high flying names, but this time, not exactly a challenging thing. I've got a feeling those 235, they have another day to go. They were Friday expiration. I got a feeling those 235ers not loving life right now. Intuit was yesterday after the bell as well. They don't get a lot of love when all these other names are popping off. But Intuit, they were pricing in 8.7%. Excuse me, they had delivered 20% to the downside. They're getting shellacked. I think they announced a big round of layoffs, which is normally what the street likes, but apparently they didn't like these. And then I do believe we had Deere today as well. They were pricing in 5.1%. They delivered about 7%, but in the wrong direction. They were going into their announcement 560.5. And as of this report, they were trading 522. So apparently, remember Deere had that big pop off AI a quarter or two ago? Apparently going the other way right now. So even the magical letters of AI couldn't save them. After the bell today, we've got Zoom popping off after the bell. That's an interesting one. Pandemic darling. Obviously, we're using them right now, so still has a strong use case out there. They were trading 99.5, and they're pricing in 441. In the past, they moved 670. That sounds a lot better to me out there. So you think that maybe Zoom is underpricing their straddle? Are they a good deal? I guess we'll find out. Let's go out to Snowflake. They're kind of an on again, off again. They're hot, they're cold, as the name implies. Let's see what they're up to. They're popping off next week on the 27th. They're pricing in their stock right around 167, and their straddle was $18.36. In the past, they've moved over $21. So a little bit of a haircut out there in Snowflake. And again, sometimes they're hot out of the gate on earnings. Other times, it's kind of a big nothing burger. So intriguing to see what they come up with. And speaking of intriguing, before we get there really quickly, the season right now hanging out at 129%. That is well above our long-term average of 105%. If you want to see all that data for yourself and literally hundreds of other tickers we don't have time to do on a show like this, theoptionsinsider.com. Click on the Options News and Articles tab. It's all there for you. It's all free because we like you. As we keep on rolling, let's see what the Flow Master has in store for us. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's get weird. Let's get wild. Let's unleash the Flow Master, see what he finds for us. And we're going back to an old favorite. This one's been kind of wild. We talked about it back at OIC a few weeks ago when the Flow Master and I were live in the same room together. This is Hyperliquid, ticker symbol PURR, P-U-R-R. Having another good day, 865, up about half a buck. Let's see. Over the past month, that puts it up $3 or 53%. Good little run. When we talked about it, let's see, it was right around, I do believe, the $6 and change level when we talked about it back in OIC time out there. This is, of course, the security that allows you to pretty much own Hyperliquid in your securities account. Obviously, that's a hot name out there on the crypto front right now. If you're listening to the crypto rundown, you know they come in routinely pretty much every week at number 10 in the top 10 from a market cap perspective. And certainly this run of 53% over the past month certainly helping that. But Mr. Flowmaster, I see you're back to the PURR table. What caught your eye out there, sir?
Well, I just kind of wanted to point out, I basically have a big winner and a big loser in the last few weeks. And I mentioned at that show at OIC, the only reason I knew about it was that I have been paying attention to Hyperliquid, the exchange, which, is this offshore perpetual futures DeFi exchange that seems to be trading a lot of volume. And so, the fact that that PURR holds the tokens which are used in the trading, it looks like a stock. I guess that you would think of it more as an ETF that holds the tokens. But either way, this thing's just been on fire. I got in at 689. I've been kind of trying to scale out of a little bit because I'll take a couple dollars on a $6 stock. And one thing I wanted to point out is that the put call skew is really jacked to the upside, right? This is basically, it's a super speculative name. It kind of seems to be kind of looking like a meme stock. You've got basically with the stock at 862, the 11 strike calls are more expensive than the 7 puts. Okay, so think about that. You basically can collar this stock for a credit, right? You still have the upside to 11, and you're covered. Can't go down below 7, or it's not going to hurt you if it does. We really kind of only see that when the market demand for upside is pretty extreme. It's not really hard to borrow as is, but I did talk to a very smart colleague of mine, and he pointed out that there's some traders out there kind of doing the calculation to basically, the number of tokens that PURR holds is published. So there's a premium in the ETF, and it's kind of in the 18 or 19% range. So, and I said, well, why can't somebody arbit? Basically, you short PURR and you buy the tokens, right? And you just kind of wait for it to converge. It is as simple as that, except that you don't know when it's going to converge, if ever. And shorting the stock, which seems to have some shortability, is not guaranteed because short stock can get called away, and that's what a short squeeze is. So this has been a fun one. It's always fun to buy something and have it go up. I actually, for the rest of the stock I'm holding on to, I sold some 11 strike calls that expire in June. I got about 80 cents for them. So think about that.
I love everything you're saying there, because this is kind of a throwback to the earlier days, shall we say, of the crypto market, when call skews were bid for days. You could put on collars for credits sometimes, which is ideal. Just all sorts of fun stuff out there, talking about premiums for the ETFs, or in the past, it was the trusts that held the tokens before things like IBIT came along. Then, of course, IBIT came along, all these other products, and all these equity folks came along into the crypto space and just killed all the juice. So I'm glad to see there are still some names like PURR that are exhibiting a little bit of that go upside fun, because that's what makes crypto fun. If you can't do collars for credits, then what's the point, I ask you listeners, at the end of the day? As we keep rolling, another hot name out here that we were just talking about not too long ago. And again, just another ridiculous name. This is up there with grabagun.com or whatever. Some of these just absolutely stupid on the nose names. But hey, this one also is misleading, because I think we discovered this is called gambling.com. You would buy this thinking you're getting direct exposure to sports gambling revenues, but you're not. This is a marketing company geared towards hence their name. They're even doing marketing in their name, obviously. So that could be a little bit misleading, and maybe that's why the stock, since we profiled it, has seemed to have had a bit of a rough go. We talked about it not too long ago. It's kind of unched today, 241, off about a nickel. Over the last month, though, it's off about $1.30 or 35%. So that is no bueno. And you go all the way back to a year ago, listeners, it is off nearly $10 or 80%. So apparently, maybe a lot of people a year ago saw that ticker and said, gambling.com, let me in, didn't do their due diligence. And then they realized, oh, this is just a marketing company. Maybe that is something to do with the absolutely awful trajectory of this ticker. And speaking of awful, Mr. Flowmaster, we were talking about some trades. How did they work out, sir?
Well, you just said, somebody really should have done their due diligence. That would be me. I bought a slug of stock because as much as we did talk about it on the show as it's not a gambling name, it's a service provider, I still kind of thought, there'd be some wave of buyers, and I didn't even pay much attention as it went into earnings, and this thing dropped about 40% on earnings. So this is a loser. Now, it was only a $4.50 stock, cut down to $2.40 now. I had sold a couple of like longer dated November calls against it. So I still lost money on it though. So this is the opposite of my PURR trade, and fortunately, kind of tells you, shows you, and how proper trade management is really important, right? I had a winner and I had a loser. That PURR winner, I although I've trimmed it a little bit, I really have let it run. This gambling, this GAMB, because it was kind of a gap down, I wasn't able to dump out of it, but still I did better. Overall, I made some money, which is fine. But just a kind of an interesting one. Looks to me like kind of a dead name from now on, but you never know.
You never know indeed, listeners. Maybe you do know about this next name, though. This is in a space that I kind of wash my hands of sometimes, because it seems like we've been hearing about fuel cells for as long as I've been alive, probably longer. I think my dad talks about fuel cells back when he was studying engineering in college back in like the 60s. This has been something that has been talked about as the future of power for the better part of the last century, pretty much, listeners. They're on again, they're off again, they're hot, they're cold. These are the future of all things power. Oh wait, they're never going to work. They're terrible. The margins, whatever. Apparently, they're back again. Ballard Power, listeners. Ticker symbol BLDP. Trading $5.36 today, up about 60 cents or 12.5%. So that is a banger day for fuel cells. And fuel cells, again, they're hot or they're cold, and apparently they're hot again. Everyone and their mother wants power for AI, so maybe that makes even sometimes dubious and low margin technologies like fuel cells attractive. And it looks like over the past year, that is the case. They're up $4 or 308%. Just to show you how kind of nothing burger this stock was. A year ago was a $1 stock. So this thing has been bid to high heaven. In fact, as of just March 10th, it was still under $2. So this thing has had a nice run over the past month. Obviously, again, the AI power madness, a bunch of other things driving the demand for all sources of power. If this name sounds familiar, if you're hanging out on the pro side, we did talk about it. It was last October. I think I actually put on a calendar when the stock was, I think, below $4. You saw a lot of paper on the Nove 4s, and I ended up doing a Nove OC 4 calendar for a bit of a small deb. I think it worked out all right, as I recall, but it wasn't a huge banger. Apparently, I needed to buy the Maze instead and go out a little bit, and then stock nearly doubled. But wild stuff. Mr. Flowmaster, not our first dalliance with fuel cells and not our first dalliance with Ballard Power. What caught your eye out there today, sir?
Yeah, so this is a big mover, and it's pretty extreme volume. And it's funny, I'm looking at news headlines, and most of the headlines are about how the stock is up and the option volume is high. So seems like, I'm not sure, maybe the tail's wagging the dog here, but what we're looking at is call volume 6 times normal with very few puts trading. Basically, you get 50,000 calls trading versus like 1,500 puts. And I wonder if this is a hard to borrow name. BLDP. Let's see. I mean, it looks like it's 40 basis points to borrow, so kind of hard to borrow. But what we're seeing is basically some pretty sizable blocks. Hang on, it's BLDP. It's a hard ticker to type, though, gotta say. The biggest one being 10,000 lot of the June 18th. So those are the regular June 7 calls. Those were bought for 30 cents. They're bought on a trading floor, but I'm pretty sure it's a buyer because the market was a quarter 30 and it traded above a SIBO Theo value. A little bit earlier than that, we actually saw buyers at a quarter. So there's also kind of about 5 minutes after those 7 strike calls, there was a buyer of basically like 600 of the July 6 calls. Those are a little meatier, basically from like 80 to 85 cents. They did that in a big sweep across 32 legs from 83 to 84 cents. I think stock, I don't know if stock's near an all-time high or just a 1-year high, but the stock is. I'm guessing it's probably an all-time high. Looks to me like this stock was a year ago. The stock was barely $1.25. So, just what we like to look for, especially in a market like we have, for the last couple of weeks, which really is pretty exuberant, pretty bullish. All-time highs. Mike, are you keeping track of where SPX is? Because we might be close. This is a pretty solid, this is not a 1,000-lot little call buyer. This is, a total of 50,000 calls. So I like it. I don't know, obviously when the headlines are about oil prices and how long they're going to stay high, maybe fuel cells come into the mix.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time believing fuel cells are back. Our chat is saying the same thing. Can't believe fuel cells are back. Yeah, they're on again. Apparently they're hot again, listeners. So take advantage of the folks talking about my calendar from last year. Yeah, that was a fun time. Sometimes names like this can be fun for a little bit of that. You're right. We are popping in the S&P. I don't see anything that has materially changed other than Uncle Mike and his cabal are buying more right now. I don't see any headlines.
Still got another 60 points to go.
I don't see another headline. I don't see any headlines. You see any headlines, Uncle Mike, that's driving this, or is it just more buyers and sellers?
I do not.
Yeah, it seems like you guys just got bored and started buying. Either way, if you want a VIX cash in a 16 handle, there you go, listeners. They are smacking it out there. And you know what? I think the Flow Master, he wants to make up for under delivering at the top of the show, listener. So he's over delivering. He's over delivering when it comes to unusual activity. Why not? Let's squeeze a few more in. Give the folks what they came for here. Let's go out to a newcomer. I don't think we've ever discussed this name before. This is UTZ Brands Inc. Ticker symbol UTZ, UTZ. You might know them. They're they're potato chip manufacturer. So not usually the sexiest of markets that we talk about here. Probably why they haven't been on the show today. But you know what? The Flow Master dug them up. So we have faith in the Flow Master. Let's see what he found out here. UTZ today, like we said, 773, literally unched on the day. So not a wild day for them. On the year, it's been a dumpster fire. Apparently, no one's buying UTZ chips. They're off $4.50 or 37%. It's been mostly straight down. I mean, there's a few bright spots apparently, but it's been pretty much straight down all year. I guess the one lone bright spot is ever since March 12th, they've kind of bottomed out around this 7.5 range or so. So 7 to 7.5 range. So I guess you can look into that as a little bit of positivity. But yeah, it's been a bit of a dumpster fire year for potato chips, Mr. Flowmaster. What did you spot out here, sir?
Well, they also make those cheese balls, which are pretty good.
Oh, there we go. That's what's going to turn them around. Cheese balls, baby.
Yeah, I think that's what this trader might be looking at.
It's the great potato chip to cheese ball pivot.
Exactly. We're talking. Well, I can't go into it yet. We got some top secret things we're working on here in the event contracts.
Go into it. It's just a couple of guys talking here. Let's go into it.
I don't want to get in trouble. There's some cool stuff happening here, and when I'm allowed to talk about it, we'll come back to this.
Are you hinting we're going to have a cheese ball binary contract come? Is that what you're hinting at? Because I can get behind that.
Yeah. But you're going to want physical delivery.
I would.
Cheese ball.
I would. I can't eat them, but I would still like physical delivery.
Binaries, I think it's cash. So this is a simple one. This is it's a pretty sleepy name. The average daily volume is just 290 contracts. Today we have over 1,000 contracts trading, and they are all except 5 are on the call side, including a buyer of 1,000 of the June 7.5 calls, paying from 44 to 45 cents. It's an opening trade. It is a lot bigger than kind of the average trade in. I don't know how you pronounce it. I don't think it has earnings anytime soon, does it? Not till the end of July, and that's a maybe. So these won't include earnings. And as you said, the stock's pretty beat up. So maybe somebody just thinks that it's gotten low enough for them to take a big bite in UTZ brand. Wow,
yeah, I can't see what would compel me to want to chase some upside in UTZ of all things. But hey, maybe they're onto something. Maybe the great pivot to cheese balls. Forget about the pivot to crypto from a few years ago, or these days the pivot to AI. I think we're underselling the pivot to cheese balls, Mr. Flowmaster. I think there's some power there. Let's do one more for the folks because we're having fun out here. Let's go out to Webull, another name that we haven't talked about in a while. Another name is hanging out right around $7, and another name that is literally unched on the day. So very similar to UTZ. Maybe they're going to pivot to cheese balls as well. On the year, what kind of year has it been for Webull? The answer is these stocks look very similar. Another dumpster fire off of $5.60 or 44%. So no bueno out there for Webull. They did top out, looks like around 18 1/3. That was back in July of last year, and ever since it's been pretty much straight down. So unlike UTZ, which has been nonstop straight down, they had a brief moment where they tried to rally before they just gave up the ghost the rest of the year. If you want a glass half full, they did bottom out end of March at right around $4.50. So they're upsized from there about $2.50. So over the past month, they're looking pretty good, but over the last year or so, not so much. Mr. Flowmaster, what did you spot out here in the bulls? Are they also pivoting to cheese balls?
Well, this one now, I have to say, they're a brokerage platform, and they're, I believe they're a STIBO member. So, they're I know people that work there. They have earnings tonight, and as you said, stock is pretty flat. But what I was just kind of looking at was the earnings expectation, which is, that 7 straddle that expires tomorrow. Okay, so they have earnings tonight, and it has a Friday contract. Is trading around 61, 62 cents, and stock's right there. That's almost 9% of spot. It hasn't moved that much in the last 4 quarters that we have earnings data on it. Let me just see if the flow is relatively heavy on the call side. It's a little bit hard to tell because it's a mixed print. Possible some of the stuff is being written, possibly because the premiums are just a little bit jacked up. But basically, we have almost 7,500 of the 7.5 calls have traded. These are the ones that do expire tomorrow. Prices paid are basically like 10 cents to 20 cents. I think right now they're trading 13 cents. And as you said, in NVIDIA, for example, everybody knows the vol is going to get crushed after earnings, and there's a lot of what I've seen says basically the straddles are generally fairly priced if you trade all of them. But I do think that it can be an opportunity to take a position if you really do have a directional view, if you want to get long the thing and you can sell the 6.5 put or even the 7 put, and even if it does dip and you're going to get assigned the stock, it lets you in kind of for a chunky piece of premium. So it's very heavy volume. Stock is been as high as $17 last July, and as low as $4.60 in March. So we've kind of bounced back a little bit. I mean, you and I know, everybody listening probably knows, option volume, auction activity is kind of at unprecedented levels. They are a very option heavy broker. They also do, kind of all the other asset classes like most brokerage firms do, especially the modern ones. But it's worth keeping an eye on. We'll basically kind of know if there's anything super interesting, in about 3 hours.
There we go. We'll keep an eye on that as we turn our attention down the road as we go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on through the weekend into the Monday show. As we mentioned earlier, it does look like things have turned around quite a bit. We were selling off about 1/3% in the S&P. Now we're up about 1/3%. Dow up 0.6%. NASDAQ up 0.4%. VIX cash below the 17 handle now, 1696. As far as I can see, all that's happened is Trump has come out and said the war will end very soon and gas prices will go down lower than they were before, which he has said. I think he's on record saying now 5,000 times. I mean, so this is what we're rallying off of? I don't know. I don't see anything material outside of more of the administration trying to talk up this market and talk down gas prices, but that's their job. That's what they're there to do. So I guess they're buying it. I don't know. But Mr. Uncle Mike, are you buying this? And what's going on in the market as we threaten yet again your beloved all-time highs, you great market cheerleader, you?
We're still a ways away for that. So unfortunately, I couldn't say my slogan today, but we're still kind of buttering around. We're just buttering to the green side. So that's where we're at right now. What I'm looking to keep an eye on over the course of the next few days, I want to just continue to monitor bonds in that in this craziness, you'd think that in the stock market, for example, if there's bad news, the market would go down or at least have some type of area to go down. In the bond space, when they say they're going to raise, they think they're going to raise interest rates, that they would go down and stay down. But we're kind of rallying a little bit. So not a lot, but a little bit. And I'm going to continue to keep an eye on bonds over the course of the next few days and see where they go. And on another note, I'm keeping an eye on is Happy Memorial Day to everybody.
I might have to get another death match. We were talking about death matches yesterday on Options Boot Camp. Maybe Super Bull Uncle Mike versus Super Bear, flat to short S&P, only long UVIX, I think, and calls and Yang, the 3X inverse China ETF as Mr. Dr. VIX. What do you say, a little bull versus bear death match, Uncle Mike? Does that float your boat?
I think it would be good. I'd also like to be the bear on one of your crypto shows, but for whatever reason, I think maybe it's for my own safety. You won't let me go on those shows.
You can come on and talk all the smack you want. I'm open. We're equal opportunity offenders here, sir. We call everything like we see them out there. If there's nonsense, we call it out. Like this rally right now. I'm going to call it nonsense. But hey,
you've been calling it nonsense for 10 years.
I've been saying that for a while. And the market, at least for the last month and change, not liking what I've been putting down out there. Mr. Flowmaster, sir, what do you got to offer the folks here?
Well, I mean, I would say, we've seen a couple head fakes for things being finished in Iran or in the Gulf, and they do get us some pretty big spikes higher. And you're right, most of them so far kind of turned out to be not quite that substantial, but it doesn't really matter. The market really does seem to be poised to spike to the higher side. I mean, my colleague Mandy Zhu put out a note probably 3 or 4 weeks ago about how the realized volatility on the up days has been bigger than the down days for the last month or so, probably 6 weeks at this point, really since the end of March when we bounced off the bottom there. And, that's pretty weird, right? But all that tells you is, we're seeing bigger moves on up days than we are on down days. It doesn't usually last that long, but, it is what we're seeing. And, if there's kind of pent up capital on the sidelines that's waiting for some sort of all clear signal or something, maybe that would explain it. But I mean, I will be watching the macro picture. The headline risk is pretty real. So, you keep your position small no matter what you're doing. You can't take anything for granted, that's for sure. A couple more, a little bit of earnings. I think NVIDIA was kind of the end of the really high profile stuff. But I'll be watching for, basically, we have I think Marvel and a couple other next week, and then it really gets quiet. So 3-day weekend, and while currently we still don't have 24/7 trading, at least for equities or equity options. So I will enjoy the weekend and be excited to see how it goes as we get into June.
Yeah, enjoy the holiday. Might be the last one you get ever, sir. It's coming. It's coming for all of us really soon. Really quickly, I see our chat debating selling puts versus covered calls in your beloved PURR. Obviously, usually they're the same thing. We're talking about a crazy bid to the call wing. I have a feeling you lean more towards the covered call side in that debate, Mr. Flowmaster, right now.
Yeah, I don't, economically they are kind of the same, but in reality it can be a little dicey. You can get assigned on those short puts, which kind of can just be very confusing to people. So, in this case, a nice simple covered call works. And also, if you let your stock get loaned out, if you hypothecate it, you can actually pick up a little yield there in some cases.
That's true. Added little juice for the stock. Or you can go the collar route, like we were talking before too, and then you're getting collars for credits if you can get them. Always a fun thing. And Mr. Flowmaster, if folks want some good stuff from you, where should they go? What should they do?
Just head over to Cboe.com. You can see all of the products that Cboe lists, all the exchanges we operate. We've got some great micro sites for different products like the Mag 10 index options and the Bitcoin index options and SPX and XSP. And if you want to take a look at our data and platforms, go to cboe.com/RMA, which is Risk and Market Analytics, and take a look. And you can request a trial, and we'll help you out.
There you go. Request a trial. Give the Flow Master some love. Keep him busy over a long holiday week. Otherwise, he's just going to be bored and twiddling his thumbs and maybe buying garbage armor off the street again and turning around and flipping it on Facebook Marketplace because he has nothing else to do. cboe.com/RMA is the place to go. And Uncle Mike, sir, we're not going to get you on Monday. You have a day off, unfortunately, so no trivia battle for you. But if folks want to talk to you in the meantime, maybe they also want to enjoy this maybe last of market holidays. Where should they go? What should they do?
Go to stcharleswealth.com. Would love to have a conversation with any of our listeners if you're looking for a financial advisor who lives in the options space, assuming it's appropriate for the investors.
It's always appropriate for the investors, listeners. Give them a call, stcharleswealth.com. The place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. That is going to do it for us on the old option block today. But we're not done on the network, not by a long shot. You think the producers would give me the rest of the day off? Heck no, listeners. We're back talking all the flow in good old CME futures options coming up in a few minutes. Got a fun new special guest joining me on that show. Should be a pretty interesting one. And then back after the closing bell to break down what this day is shaping up to be on the Hot Options Report. And then tomorrow should be an interesting one. Uncle Mike's future deathmatch opponent, Dr. VIX, will be joined by Mr. VIXologist as well. Maybe some other special guests. Should be a fun one on Vol Views tomorrow. Then we wrap it all up for the pro folks, theoptionsinsider.com/pro, with Options Oddities. Man, it was a literal banger on Oddities last week with some of these trades we were talking about and some of the trades that we did. I mean, wild stuff. You got to tune in just to check that out alone. Then obviously we're off for Monday, but we'll be back next Thursday. Another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of CBOE Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively CBOE. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the CBOE products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.